My hands were still wet from the dishes when my son Etienne walked into the kitchen at 20 past 10 on a Saturday night, took my elbow, turned me to face him, and said, "Mama, if anyone asks tonight, we were home all evening. We had dinner at 7. We watched the game. I never left the house. Tell me you understand." I did not understand. I had been alone in our house since 5. He had come home at 9:45 through the side door and gone straight to the laundry room, and I had heard the washing machine start. He had not said hello. He had not stopped to kiss the top of my head, the way he had done every time he walked in the door since he was old enough to reach. I had been finishing the dishes from the dinner I had eaten alone. Before he could answer, someone began pounding on the front door. The pounding was not the pounding of a neighbor. The pounding was the pounding of a person who had been running. A voice came through the wood, young and shaking and unmistakably angry, and it said, "Open the door. I know you're in there. Open the door right now. Hit subscribe before I tell you another word. Drop your city in the comments. I am telling you this story 4 years after it happened. I am only telling it once. Listen all the way to the end because I am going to tell you the choice I made, and I am not going to tell you whether the choice was right. That part will be yours. My name is Camille Boudreau. I am 57 years old. I work as a pediatric speech therapist at a small clinic in a town in southern Louisiana, 2 hours west of New Orleans. I work with children who cannot say the words they want to say. Some of them have been through things that took the words. Some never had the words to begin with. My job is to give them the words back, or to give them new words, or to teach them other ways to say what they need to say without words at all. I have been doing it for 31 years. It is the only job I have ever wanted. Etienne was my only child. His father had not been in the picture since Etienne was 2. I had raised him alone. I had worked 2 jobs for the first 8 years of his life. He had grown up in the house I was now standing in. He had built a tree house in the live oak in the backyard with a hammer I could no longer find. He had broken his arm at 9, falling off a bicycle in the driveway. He had graduated from the local high school 4 years before this night. He was 24 years old. He worked as a deckhand on commercial fishing boats out of the marina 10 miles from our house. He still lived with me. He had been planning to move out at the end of the year. He had told me in May that he had been saving up. He had borrowed my car that evening to drive into town for parts for a project he was working on in the garage. He had left at 5:30. He had not come back at the time I expected. I had eaten alone. I had not been worried because Etienne sometimes ran into people in town and stopped at the bar by the marina with friends from the boats. He had walked in at 9:45 with a streak of something dark on the side of his neck that I now believe was blood. And he had not looked at me. And he had gone straight to the laundry room. And he had started the washing machine. I had thought he had cut himself. I had thought he had been working on something and gotten dirty. I had thought 100 small, reasonable things in the 35 minutes between his arrival and the moment he gripped my elbow in the kitchen and asked me to lie to whoever was about to knock on our door. The pounding came again. The voice through the door was a girl's voice. The girl said, "I know you were there. I saw your license plate. Open the door right now or I am going to scream until somebody calls the police." Etienne's hand was still on my elbow. He was looking at me. His face was the face of the boy I had carried home from the hospital 24 years ago in a yellow blanket my mother had crocheted. The boy who had cried himself to sleep on my chest the first night his father did not come home. The boy who had told me, at 6 years old, that he was going to grow up and buy me a house with a porch big enough to dance on. The same face was looking at me now, and the same face was asking me to lie. I did not say I would. I did not say I would not. I walked to the front door. I opened it. There was a girl on my porch. She was maybe 14. She was wearing a sweatshirt with the name of the local high school on it. She had been crying for a long time. Her face was streaked. Her hair was wet on one side, as if she had been running through somebody's sprinkler in someone's yard. She had a phone in her hand. The phone screen was on. There was a photograph on it. She held the phone up to my face. The photograph was of the back of a silver pickup truck. The license plate was clear. The license plate was mine. The girl said, "He hit my mother. He hit my mother 40 minutes ago on Old Hutchins Road. He did not stop. She is dead. I want him to come outside right now and tell me why." I am going to ask you to imagine that moment. I have asked myself to imagine it many times. The thing I want you to imagine is not the shock of the words she said, although those words are still in my chest somewhere. The thing I want you to imagine is the half-second between the words leaving her mouth and the moment my mouth had to make a decision. In that half-second, my brain ran through every possible response. The response of a mother. The response of a stranger. The response of a coward. The response of a person who had spent 24 years building a son. The response of a person who had also, in her professional life, spent 31 years sitting across from children who had been hurt by people they trusted, helping them find the words for what had been done to them. Both of those people were inside me. Both of them had things to say. The girl was watching my face. She had been watching it the whole time I had been holding the door open. She did not know yet which of those two people was going to win. I did not know either. The thing that finally made my mouth move was something very small. The girl's lower lip was shaking. She was holding the phone up so steadily that her hand was trembling. She was 14 years old and she had run, alone, in the dark, to the address on the registration of a license plate she had memorized in the moments after watching her mother die. She had not gone to the police first. She had not gone to a neighbor. She had come here. She had wanted to look at the person who had done it before anyone took the choice away from her. I said, "Come inside." I want to stop and tell you what was going through my head when I said it, because I have thought about it more than I have thought about anything else in 4 years. I had 2 reasons. The first reason was that the girl was 14 years old and standing on my porch alone at almost 11 at night, in a state of shock that I had been trained to recognize. And there was a thunderstorm coming in from the Gulf that I could already smell. The second reason was harder to admit. The second reason was that I did not yet know what I was going to do, and I did not want to make the decision on a porch where the girl could disappear before I had figured out whether I was going to be the mother or whether I was going to be the other thing. She came inside. I closed the door behind her. Etienne was standing in the doorway of the kitchen. He saw her. He saw the phone in her hand. The color drained from his face. He did not move. The girl looked at him. She did not look at me anymore. She walked past me and stood in the middle of my own living room, and she said, looking at my son, "My mother's name was Aurelia. She was 43. She was walking back to her car from the boat launch. She was wearing a green jacket. You hit her at 56 miles an hour. The speed limit on that road is 40. You did not brake. You sped up. I was sitting in our truck waiting for her. I saw the whole thing. You did not see me. You drove away. I memorized the plate. I followed the plate to this house. I am her daughter. My name is Cerie." Etienne opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He closed his mouth. He sat down, very slowly, on the arm of our couch. The girl, Cerie, did not move. She did not cry. She had been crying for 40 minutes already, and she had run out of crying for the next part of what she was going to do. She turned to me. "I have been told my entire life that adults handle things that children cannot handle. I am asking you, ma'am, to handle this. I am asking you to make him do the thing he did not do on the road 40 minutes ago. I am asking you to call the police. If you do not call the police, I am going to call them right now from your porch, and I am going to tell them that I came here, and that you and your son let me in, and that you knew, and that you decided. I do not want to do that to you. I do not know you. You did not hit my mother. He hit my mother. But I will do it if I have to. She was 14. She had said it in the voice of a woman 50 years older than she was. She had thought it through on a 6-mile run from a boat launch in the dark. There is a thing I want you to understand about my son at this moment. I have spent 4 years trying to put it into words. The closest I can come is this. The man on the arm of my couch was not a stranger to me. He was the boy I had raised. He was the boy who had given me a paper crown for Mother's Day in 2nd grade that I had kept in a drawer in my bedroom for 16 years. He was the boy who had stayed home from a school dance at 15 because I had the flu, and who had brought me soup at midnight because he had decided, by himself, that someone needed to. He was the boy who had cried at his own high school graduation when he got to the podium because he had thanked me by name and then could not get through the rest of his sentence. He was the boy I had loved for 24 years, with the part of me that knew how to love. He was also, I now understood, the man who had hit a woman named Aurelia at 56 miles an hour on Old Hutchins Road and had not stopped. Both of those people were inside the same body. The boy in the paper crown was the same as the man on the arm of the couch. There was no other version of him standing somewhere else. The son I had loved for 24 years had also, that evening, killed somebody's mother. The choice in front of me was not a choice between two sons. It was a choice about which of his actions I was going to organize my next decade of life around. I called the police. I called them from the kitchen. I told them where I was. I told them what had been said to me. I told them the girl was in my living room, and that she was 14 years old, and that I did not know if anyone had been notified yet. The dispatcher told me that an officer was already on the way to my address. They had received another call 8 minutes earlier. The other call had been from my son's cell phone. He had been trying to call them to confess. He had been trying to call them in the laundry room while I had been doing the dishes. He had not been able to do it. He had hung up before the dispatcher answered. They had traced the number. They had been on their way to verify. The cruiser arrived 4 minutes after I called. The officer who came to the door was a young man named Officer Lazar Cherami. He had grown up 2 parishes over. He had been in Etienne's graduating class. He took one look at my son sitting on the arm of the couch, and he understood the shape of the night before anyone said a word. He took the girl outside first. He sat with her on the front porch, and he made a phone call, and he stayed with her until her grandmother arrived. Suri's grandmother lived 18 miles away. The grandmother got there in 22 minutes, in a robe and slippers, in a car driven by a neighbor. The grandmother held the girl on my front porch for a long time. They did not speak. They just held each other. Then they got in the neighbor's car and drove away. I did not see Suri again that night. Etienne was arrested. He did not resist. He gave a full statement at the station. He did not say I had told him to do anything. He told them what had happened on Old Hutchins Road in the order it had happened. He had borrowed my car. He had been on his phone. He had been driving home from the marina. He had not seen Aurelia until the moment of impact. He had panicked. He had driven away. He had thought for 35 minutes that he could ask his mother to cover for him. He had stopped thinking that the moment Suri had said her mother's name through our front door. He pleaded guilty to vehicular manslaughter and leaving the scene of an accident. He took a sentence of 14 years. The plea hearing was the last time I saw him in a courtroom. The The first time I went to see him in the state facility was 9 weeks later. And that visit is the part of this story I have not been able to talk about with anyone. Until now. He came into the visitation room in a beige uniform that did not fit him. His hair had been cut very short. He was thinner than I had seen him since he was 16. He sat down across from me at the small table. He could not look at my face. He said, "Mama, why did you call them?" I want you to hear that question the way I heard it. He was not angry. He was not accusing. He was asking. He genuinely did not understand. He was 24 years old. He had grown up alone with a mother who had told him every day of his life that he and I were a team, that it was the two of us against the world, that I was always on his side. He was asking me to explain how I had stopped being on his side. I sat there for a long minute. The fluorescent lights buzzed. A vending machine in the corner kicked on. I tried to find words. The words I had were not the right words. The words I wanted were not available to me. The closest I could come was this. I said, "Etienne, I have been on your side every day of your life. I was on your side that night. The thing you do not understand yet is that being on your side stopped meaning lying for you on the night you killed Suri's mother. Being on your side that night meant making sure you became the kind of man who could one day live with what he did. The mother who lied for you would have left you with nothing to come back from. The mother who called the police left you with the chance to come back. I do not know if you will. I hope you will. I will be here either way. But the thing you are going to have to do for the rest of your life is the thing I could not do for you. You are going to have to decide what kind of person you are going to be inside this. I cannot be that for you." The asking, that night in the kitchen, was the moment you stopped being a boy. I had to let you become a man. Letting you become a man, Etienne, meant not letting you off the hook. That is the only way I knew to stay on your side. He cried. He did not say anything for a long time. I did not say anything either. We sat in the buzzing room and we cried in front of each other, the way I had not cried in front of him since his father left, and the way he had not cried in front of me since the day he had been 17 and his best friend had drowned in the Gulf during a summer storm. We were not a mother and a son for those minutes. We were two people who had loved each other for 24 years and who were trying to figure out how to keep doing it from across a metal table in a state facility. I have been going to see him every other Saturday for 4 years. I take the bus. The bus ride is 6 hours each way. I do not mind. He has been doing the slow work. He has gotten his GED. He is taking college classes through a program the state runs. He has been writing letters to Suri's family that they have not opened. They have told him through their lawyer that they will read them when they are ready. They have not been ready yet. He has told me he understands. He has told me he will keep writing. He has told me he is not writing them to be forgiven. He is writing them because the writing is the only thing he has to give, and he wants to give it whether they want it or not. I have not told him this, but I think Suri's family will read the letters one day. I think they will read them when Suri is older. I do not know what they will think. I do not get to know. Suri is 18 now. She is in her first year at a state university 300 miles from here. She is studying social work. I know this because I asked once through a back channel of women in my old town who keep track of the kids whose mothers they used to know. I have not contacted her. I have not tried to. I do not have any right. I sent flowers to Aurelia's funeral, anonymously, with no card. It is the smallest thing I could have done, and it is the only thing I could think of that was not asking her family for forgiveness or asking them for permission to grieve someone they were grieving harder. The reason I am telling you this story is not the reason you might think. I am not telling you so you will know what to do if your child ever asks you to lie. I do not actually know if I did the right thing. I made a phone call. I called the police. The world looks at that and says, "Of course you did the right thing. What other thing could you have done?" But the world was not in my kitchen. The world did not see the boy in the paper crown sitting on the arm of my couch. The world did not feel 24 years collapse into the half-second between Suri's question and my answer. The world says the right thing was easy. It was not easy. I want to tell you that because I have heard people speak about choices like this as if they are obvious, and I am here to tell you, from inside one, that they are not. There was a real version of the night where I lied. There was a real version where I told Suri that he had been home all evening, where I closed the door on her, where she went to the police anyway, where they arrested him on her testimony, where I stood by him through the trial as a mother and lied on the stand and watched him walk free. That version is real. That version was inside me. I felt it inside me. The reason I did not pick it is not because I am better than anyone listening to this. The reason is smaller than that. The reason is that Suri was 14 years old, and I had been a person who worked with children my whole adult life, and I could not stand on the porch of my own house and lie to a 14-year-old who had run 6 miles in the dark to find me. That is not bravery. That was the limit of my own training, in the place where my training had been the deepest. If Suri had been 40, if Suri had been a police officer, if Suri had been anyone other than the exact person she was, in the exact age she was, with the exact thing in her hand she had, I do not know what I would have done. I do not get to know. The version of me who lied does not exist now, because the version of me who told the truth does. But the version of me who lied was real, and is still real, and lives in a small room inside me, and I have made my peace with her presence by telling you, tonight, that she was there. There is one thing I have learned that I will pass on to you, because it is the only thing I have come out the other side of this with that feels genuinely useful. The thing is this: the moments when we do the right thing are not the moments when we are sure. They are the moments when we are not sure, and we do it anyway, because of some small specific accident of who we happen to be. The right thing is not a quality of character. The right thing is a place we end up because of where we happen to be standing when somebody asked us. The luck of where we were standing is not something we get to take credit for. We get to take credit for not running away from where we were standing once we noticed where we were. Suri found me at the door because I happened to be the person who opened it. That is not heroism. That is geography. The next time something hard finds you at your own door, I hope you do not run. I hope you stand in the place where you are standing. I hope, especially, that you let yourself be somebody other than the person you would have been if the wrong thing had been easier. Whether you decide I did the right thing or not, the thing I did is the thing I lived with. It is the thing I will go on living with. My son comes home in 10 years. He will be 34. I will be 67. I will be waiting on a porch he built me when he was 19, with a glass of sweet tea, and I will hug him, and I will tell him I am proud of who he chose to become inside the place I had to send him. That is the version of him I am rooting for. That is the version of me I am rooting for. Both of us still have time. Suri's mother does not. That is the part I will not stop thinking about, ever. That is the part I will carry until the porch falls down.